All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar, the ROI on Rewards, When to Add Incentives to Your Campaign. We're excited to get going here, but before I begin, I just want to let you know how we're managing the time here. In a moment, I'm going to hand things over to Olivier Tubia, a professor at Columbia Business School, who will tell us about his research in the field of crowdsourcing and how it relates to incentives. He'll speak to you all for the next 20 minutes or so, and then we're going to allow about 10 minutes for questions at the end. We're going to try and hold all questions for the end, however, but as the presentation goes on, I'll be keeping my eye on the questions feed, and if it's important to the conversation at that immediate moment, or if it's a good stopping point, I'll step in and I'll see if I can have Professor Tubia answer it. I also wanted to let everyone know that we are recording this webinar, so it will be possible to access it after the event is over as well. So we'll send out a link to everyone who registered so that they can find it online. And of course, if you have any questions about IdeaScale or today's event, you can forward them to me. My name is Jessica Day, and I work here at IdeaScale. And in the meantime, I'm going to hand things over to Professor Tubia. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. Good day, everyone. So I will talk to you today about a paper that I wrote a few years ago about idea generation and looking at one specific standard issue that is relevant to ideation, in particular when you involve consumers and outside members of your organization in brainstorming and ideation, and that's the issue of incentives and motivation. If you involve consumers in idea generation, asking them for ideas, they don't work for you. They won't benefit financially from their ideas most of the time. So how do you motivate people to actually spend the time and the effort to try to help you and your organization innovate better and come up with better ideas? And that's also relevant when you have large organizations in which each employee may not get a huge reward otherwise from their ideas. And so how do you give them this extra boost in motivation to really go out of their way to try to think outside the box and come up with great ideas? So the kind of the two questions that I'm trying to address here is, first of all, does it help to give incentives? Maybe one may think that when giving incentives, actually people could actually perform less well because maybe they will be under pressure, maybe they will think it's less fun or whatever. So first of all, we want to verify that actually it may help to give incentives, and especially individual incentives. So we don't want just to reward the whole group for coming up with good ideas. We want to give each individual an incentive to try to contribute to the session. And then also, what type of incentives work? How can we design incentive schemes that will get the most out of the participants? So in order to study this question, I developed a game, an ideation game, which I will show you in the next few slides. I will show you my own version, which is very rough, but there's been other more polished commercial versions developed. It's not very different from other online ideation platforms. It's anonymous, so people don't have to reveal themselves. So this could help in case people may be afraid of other people's reaction to their ideas. It's asynchronous, which means that I can come in and enter ideas at my own leisure. I don't have to wait for other people to be in the same room or in the same place, even at the same time. So we've had sessions in which we had a mix of employees and customers. No one knew who the other one was, and some of them maybe were in different time zones or different continents, and they can all participate together because they can enter ideas whenever they want for a few days typically, or even maybe a couple of weeks. So what's maybe a little bit different here is that participants are going to score points for their idea. So that's the idea of the game. And these points usually are going to be translated into money, so a little bit of cash. And the way the way the points are assigned is a little bit unique. So first of all, the ideas will be organized in threads, just like in discussion forums. We will see threads of ideas, and what this enables us to do is to reward participants either for the number of ideas. So whenever you enter an idea, you get 1 point, but also, and maybe more uniquely, for the impact of their ideas. So whenever someone else is going to build on my ideas, I would get some credit. So it's the idea of citation. So in scientific research, people cite each other's work. So here's the same idea. If I come up with an idea and it inspires other people to contribute other ideas, I should get credit for the impact that I had on the group. And then we can play with with how many points we give for the number of ideas versus for the impact of these ideas. So let me show you more concretely what I mean by that. This is a screenshot from a session. So again, it looks rough. That's just my own academic version. Again, there's better looking versions of that. So you see here we have a session on how to improve the impact of the UN Security Council. So we see that here on the top right, and we see here on the left all the ideas so far. So we see these threads of ideas that build on each other. So idea number 86 builds on 84, which builds on 81, which builds on 79, and so on and so forth. And so if I want to enter a new idea, I could either start a new thread. So I could enter an idea that is completely new and different from the others. So I will start my own new threads of ideas. But I could also build on the existing threads of ideas. So if I, for example, decide to build on idea number 81, I will type here 81, submit, and then I'm going to enter an idea that builds on that idea. And so to make sure that participants are able to articulate how the new ideas relate to the other ones, we give them a menu of phrases like on the other hand, however, in particular, indeed, moreover. So these are all conjunctions that are going to help make the link between the new idea and the previous idea. And so if I enter an idea in this box and press submit, then my idea will appear below idea number 81. And then it's possible then to give to the author of idea number 81 some points for having inspired me to come up with a new idea. And we can also give credit to the people who wrote the idea number 79, because he or she inspired this person to write that idea, which then inspired me to write my new idea. So we have this kind of pyramid scheme of ideas, if you want, in which each time I come up with an idea and other people build on this idea and other people build on these ideas that build on my idea, I'm going to get some credits. So we usually limit to 5 the number of points that I'm going to get per idea, but there could be 5 different people building on my ideas and so on and so forth, and that kind of increases my possible number of points in the game. So I'm going to play this game. I'm going to score some points. I'm going to play with other participants. And we want to make sure that people are truthful, that they respect the rules of the game. So first of all, there's going to be a moderator that will once in a while check into the session to make sure that people are following the rules, that they only enter ideas that are relevant, and that they're honest when they assign when they build on each other's ideas, and that they're actually building on each other's ideas. And on top of that, we allow participants to challenge each other. So if I see someone in the session who clearly does not seem to be paying attention to the rules and just trying to game the system, I can challenge this person. And then the moderator is going to come in and decide whether I was right to challenge this person. If I was right, this person will have to give me 5 of their points. So there will be a transfer of points between the offender and the person who identified this person. If on the other hand I challenge someone for no reason, then I will have to give that person 5 of my points. So this fear of being challenged is a great way to get people to adhere to the rules, to follow the rules. And actually, in practice, there's very, very few challenges, just because people don't want to be challenged, so therefore they follow the rules, and there is no challenge. But it's a great way to have people self-monitor one another without having too much involvement from the moderator. So that reduces the cost of the sessions. So that's kind of the, in a nutshell, the interface. And so, again, kind of what's interesting here is that we can actually give people points when they come up with ideas, but we can also give them points when other people are going to enter ideas that build on their ideas. And so that's the idea of the impacts that I have on the group. So how does it matter? How does rewarding people for their number of ideas versus for their impact on the group matter in terms of what type of ideas people come up with or how they search for ideas? So to understand this, let's make a distinction between 2 fundamental ways to come up with ideas. One of them is to explore, and the other one is to exploit. Exploration is when you try to really think outside the box. You try to investigate a new approach. You try to really go further away from the established wisdom. You try to break new grounds. So this is a slow and risky approach. But if you find something, then this could be very impactful because you could open new doors, and this will inspire other people to come up with ideas themselves. The other approach is more exploitation. Just going to exploit what other people have done. I'm going to be incremental. I'm going to add a little bit to the previous ideas, and this is less risky. I'm going to get to be able to come up with more ideas in the short term, but these ideas may not be as impactful. So what I found in my research is that first of all, giving incentives to people does help, and the type of incentive that you give makes a big difference, and I will show you some results in the next slides. But also what I found is that when you reward people for the impact that they have on the group, when you reward them not only when they come up with ideas, but also when other people build on their ideas, what you do is you induce much more exploration. People are going to think much more deeply. They're going to maybe spend more time and be a little bit slower coming up with new ideas, but the ideas that they will find will be more impactful and will open new doors and new grounds. So I've done a lot of studies with this game. Let me just show you one of them to give you a flavor for what the results are. So this is one of the first experiments that I did. It was about the UN Security Council. So I recruited people in the streets, actually, asking them to sign on and participate in ideation sessions. And there were 3 types of sessions. So people were randomly assigned to 3 different types of sessions. Some people had just a flat incentive. Just by signing up to the session, you would get $10. No matter what you did, you would get the same amount of money. So you get a flat incentive. Some people were paid per idea. So each time they entered a new idea, they would get a couple of dollars. So they were only rewarded for their own contribution for their number of ideas. And then some sessions were such that people were only rewarded for their impact on the group. So when I would come in and enter a new idea to the session, I would not get any point right away. I would only get points if other people in the session built on my idea later. And so it's purely impact. Only my impact on the group would give me points and later on money. So let's see what happens. So we have 3 different types of sessions. Let's see how they differed in terms of the outputs. This is what I found. The people who got a flat incentive, no matter what they did, they got the same amount of money, came up with a little bit less than 1 idea on average per person. People who were paid for their number of ideas came up with 2 ideas on average per person. So it was better. So it showed that actually it helped to give incentives. But the people who were paid not when they came up with ideas, but when other people built on their ideas, these people came up with even twice as many ideas. So we see here the impact of rewarding people for their influence on the group as opposed to their own ideas. And so part of this is just, as I mentioned earlier, kind of how people search for ideas. Maybe there was more exploration in the impact conditions, so the ideas were more inspiring, and this will lead to longer discussions. But what I found also is that the big aspect of this is purely social. In the impact sessions, people were intrigued by what other people would be doing, because my points were a function of what other people did. If other people picked up on my ideas, I would get some points. If no one picked up on my ideas, I would get no points. So what happened is people kept coming back to the session to check on the status of their ideas. Did anyone pick up on my ideas? And so by going back very often, they would then look at the new ideas and maybe contribute new ideas. So by making the incentives social, in the sense that my incentives are not just a function of what I do, but also how other people are going to respond to what I do, really engages people much more and motivates them, and makes them spend much more time on the task. So we've even had some applications in companies in which a company would set up a session with employees, and they would so okay, the session will be over by Friday at 5 p.m. And then people would actually ask the company to extend the session to Sunday night, because they wanted to spend the weekend working at home on the session, because it was fun, it was interactive, and they wanted to do this actually at home outside of the office hours. So it's really just, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but just the idea that there will be points, there will be a winner, there will be a competition, and we're all interdependent, and my points will depend on your actions, really gets people into this, and gets them to spend much more time on that. We also looked at the quality of the ideas, and we found that just like the number of ideas, the impact conditions gave rise to much better ideas. So they were rated by some PhD students in political science. So we see they also were much better ideas. So this was just one study. I've done a few others, including some with Colgate. So here we experimented with having a mix of engineers, marketers in the same sessions, even maybe sometimes having customers, clients, having people in different time zones, and we found that it worked pretty well, and people usually really invested the time to think of new ideas, and this simple game with this simple incentive structure was really able to address this issue of incentives and motivation. So I think the bottom line from this is that, first of all, incentives do help, and it is possible to motivate people to spend more time and more efforts in an ideation task. And the other one is that the type of incentive also matter very much, and that's rewarding people not just for their own actions, but for how their actions are going to impact other people. Not only motivates them to really try to explore new grounds and try to come up with ideas that will expand to new threads of ideas, but also makes the whole game more social and more interactive and more competitive in some sense, and really motivates people to get into it. So that's in a nutshell the research. Just so here
That
it is. Okay, so I guess we can now open it for questions.
Yeah, we've already
Jessica?
got a few questions in the feed here. So if people want to add theirs, just go ahead and put it in the questions feed there, and we'll get to it. One of the first questions that somebody asked, and I wonder if you have an answer for this, is um, how do you motivate people to? How do you incentivize them to spend their time and effort to create better ideas? Who, for political reasons, do not want to share ideas on a public forum like a website. What's the best form there?
So for political reasons, you said, or
Yes, yes.
I mean, one of the things that we did here, which is pretty standard, is to actually anonymize the contribution. So when you sign up, you get a username. It's not identified to you, so the participants will not know who is behind the ideas. So that's one way to go around these issues. And in other settings, is also if you have your boss in the same session, and you don't want or you want people to make fun of you. So there's one easy answer is just to use anonymity, and that usually works pretty well. Now you could also give guarantees to the participants that their ideas won't be shared with third parties, or that you can have them sign contracts. But usually just having anonymous contributions works pretty well.
Another question is just clarification on, because I think you used impactful in a few different ways here. The question was, when you say impactful, what do you mean? I think there's an argument that sometimes you achieve more impact or improve services more with incremental changes rather than designing a whole new service around suggestions.
Right. So the impact. So what I mean here is the impact of your ideas on the group of participants. And so in my case, I simply count the number of ideas that follow from your ideas. So if you're the author of idea number 79 here, I would count 81 as being as citing your idea, and then 84 is the grandchild of your idea, if you want, and 86 is one step further down the chain. So all of these ideas would be citations of your ideas, if you want. And so in that case, I would give you 1 point each time someone writes something down the thread, with a cap at 5 points per idea. So you don't want this could easily grow exponentially, and you give people hundreds of points. So there's a cap in terms of how many points each idea can earn. But the idea is that anything that follows from my idea in that same thread, I'm going to give credit to the idea for for having inspired some of that idea.
So one of the other questions was, how do you feel about ranking technology where participants rate each other? So that's you're saying essentially that that's something you're in favor of.
Yeah, so I mean the I think that's another approach. What I like about this way of doing this is that I don't have to ask people. You know, people kind of vote with their ideas. You know, the ideas that get traction, you don't need anyone to vote. You just see the traction that they get naturally by people building on each other. I don't have to go to do the extra step of asking people to rate each other. It just, it's revealed by how much traction your ideas get in the session. So you kind of get rid of this extra step of having people rate or rank each other, and so this saves time, and also this also may address some issues of people maybe being a little bit political, maybe in how they rank each other, or it could be some gaming issues of people trying to game the system. Here it's really, if you come up with a good idea that inspire other people, it will just show by the number of ideas that build on your ideas.
Um, does your model weight the impact of a response to an idea? So, like, if a mediocre idea is then built much stronger by a subsequent comment?
Yeah, so it's possible to add this feature to the game. Here I was trying to do the simplest possible rules of the game. This is something that people do online. They have to learn the rules by themselves in a few minutes online. It has to be simple, clear, transparent. So here I was just counting the number of points. There was no your points here were not a function of any qualitative ratings of the ideas. It was purely based on this mechanical algorithm, if you want. You could add you could add a layer on top of that in which people vote, or in which there's some judgments of the ideas, and this could also be part of the system. I was just here looking at the what happens if you just reward people for the impact, no matter how good the idea is, no matter how good the following ideas are, just the fact that your ideas inspired other people, what difference does that make?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the questions was, who determines if the person is right or wrong when it comes to challenging ideas?
So usually this is pretty obvious. Usually, I mean, I've run a lot of sessions myself, and I've had very few challenges. But usually, it's people that clearly are not being honest. They just write random statements, are clearly being trying to cheat. So it's pretty obvious usually. And again, because we have this feature that people are afraid to be challenged if they don't follow the rules. They follow the rules because of that, and actually there are no challenges. So usually you may get one challenge, once in a while, but it's just the threat of the challenge is enough to get people to follow the rules. And I've never heard of a case in which there was a conflict in resolving the challenge. It's usually pretty obvious.
I've got a few questions here about IdeaScale and how this works when people are using it with the IdeaScale product. It we feel that the impact score is basically how the comment thread and the votes build up. Like ideas that generate a lot of activity are generally the ideas that are not even necessarily the most popular, but they're the ideas that grow. They're the ideas that have a high amount of impact that Professor Tubia is talking about. Um, and so those are some of the ways that it's certainly possible to tailor the idea scale tool to this concept as well. One of the other questions was, have you used incentives other than money, is in organizational recognition or like days off or anything other than cash as an incentive?
Yeah. So not myself, but I know some of my I know so there's been other applications in other companies in which I was not involved myself, and there has been some non-monetary incentives. So it could either be things that still have value, like maybe parking space or like a T-shirt or something other than cash, but still some tangible benefits. Or it could just be the number of points, and you get a T-shirt maybe at the end saying how many points you had or something like that. And usually it seems to work also quite well. I mean, it's really not about the money; it's more about the competitive nature of this. And humans are such that whenever there's a number of points and there's different people playing, they want to be the first, they want to win. whether the points are money, whether it's just recognition, the just the natural tendency to compete and to have fun and to play with each other. So it works also quite well with no money.
Um, how big of a crowd does this concept work with? Is it scalable to hundreds of ideas?
Scalable in terms of number of participants per session or number of sessions?
Um, I suppose in terms of like number of ideas I mean, if we get hundreds of ideas, is it scalable to be able to review that many
Yes, so that's one of the big
per session?
issues when you do open innovation and ideation is the how do you deal with the amount of ideas, and so that's a problem that you face always whenever you open such ideation to large numbers of people. The one benefit here is that you do get a measure of the quality of the ideas by looking at the impact of each idea without having to rate the idea, um, without having humans rate the idea. So let's say you come up with 2,000 ideas from the session. You can get a first pass at screening them by just looking at how much traction each idea got. And this is automatically generated from the system. No one has to go and read the ideas to find out which ones were the most impactful. So that this gives you a first indicator of the quality of the ideas, which with other systems you would have to have people rate the ideas to get that. So, but still, you need to have a system in place that's, I mean, especially with this tool, there's been examples in which really because people were spending so much time and so much effort, you got hundreds of ideas, and you need to have a system in place to screen those. And there's other tools that you can use as a complement to this that allow you to sift through the ideas. You can use voting mechanisms and such, but the tool itself, there's no issue of scaling this to larger number of people. Just before launching something like this, you need to have thought through beforehand how you're going to evaluate the ideas.
What was the size of the study that you conducted?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you very. Sorry, could you repeat that?
What was the size of the study that you conducted?
So I conducted a few, maybe a couple hundred people in total. But I know there's been other applications. Usually each session is maybe wouldn't have more than maybe like 20 people maybe, but you can have multiple sessions in parallel. I don't know that there's been sessions in which each session had a lot of people, because then it becomes a little bit messy in terms of keeping track of the ideas and building on each other. But you could just have groups of people. So if you have 1,000 people involved, you could have maybe 100 groups with 10 people each, and then they would work in parallel on the problem. And you can also seed ideas across groups. If there's a good idea in one group, you can actually, as a moderator, you can seed that idea in another group, and you can have some cross-fertilization this way. So.
Question here: do response ideas that are deemed off topic or removed or otherwise moderated out of a forum, do they negatively affect the original submitter's ratings or points?
So only so there's two ways in which this could affect you. First of all, if sometimes you run a session and you have people that clearly are not paying attention, they're just disturbing the session. So this could just be expelled from the session. So in that case, they will not get anything. And the other one is that if I try to game the system and someone challenges me and I lose the challenge, then I will lose 5 points because I will have to give them 5 points. So yes, so if people are trying to cheat and obviously trying to game the system, there will be negative consequences. But again, it very rarely happens. Usually people are taking this seriously and they're having fun and they're just more positive about the whole game.
All right. I see people are beginning to have to exit the meeting. We've hit our 10 a.m. end time here. Does anybody have any more questions? So we've got one more here. What sort of incentives could be used in projects other than like product development, but rather like in change projects?
Yes, so you can see here, for example, in this study, it was about the improving the impact of the UN Security Council. So clearly not a product. I've done some some section which was about improving processes, for example, manufacturing processes in the service industry. So it's really the question that's the subject of the session could be anything in which you need some creativity to address that you need creativity to address. It's not only product development. It could be a public policy, legal issues, manufacturing, you name it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Professor Tubia. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Again, this presentation will be available online. We'll be sending out a link to all of the registrants. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to direct them to me, Jessica Day, jessica.day@ideascale.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, Olivier.